Hello, I'm Sherry Cifaldi Morrill of Whole Circle Studio, and today I'm really excited to give you a behind-the-scenes look at the new Shoreline Shells quilts. This is a project that you can make for yourself or as a gift. There's lots of room for customization, but before we get into that, I want to share a bit about my inspiration for the quilt design. I grew up on the East Coast of the United States, never living more than about 20 minutes from a beach. So the shoreline has played a huge role in my life. Searching for shells and sea glass, both close to home but also in my travels, has always been one of my favorite things to do. I have these containers of my found treasures all around my home, and I'm especially smitten with this sand dollar that I found while I was in the Caribbean a few years ago. In early 2022, I started brainstorming and sketching ideas for a shell and a sea glass inspired quilt. A beach-themed quilt has always been on my wish list of projects, and I used my beachcombing collection as a starting point for my inspiration. After a lot of design work, pattern writing, testing, technical editing, I'm really excited to be able to share this quilt pattern with you. So Shoreline Shells is being introduced as a Block of the Month program in 2023. Quilters from around the world will be making the blocks, and there's an opportunity to share them online. This sewing fun will kick off in January 2023, but if you're watching this sometime in the future, thank you, and you're more than welcome to jump in at any time. All of the patterns and bonus content will be available indefinitely as PDF downloads. We'll sew these seashell blocks together on your sewing machines using foundation paper piecing, also known as FPP. We'll work one quilt block at a time, each at our own pace, so there's no falling behind or feeling guilty. Not only will you have a pretty quilt at the end of the project, but you'll also gain valuable skills and have fun. Let's get into some of the details. Each month throughout 2023, January through December, you'll be emailed your link to download a detailed PDF paper-pieced pattern for a block in the Shoreline Shells quilt. Immediately after you purchase your Shoreline Shells Block of the Month registration, you'll receive an email with the link to download the welcome packet. And this includes detailed information about fabric requirements for all the options, as well as coloring sheets and other helpful planning information. If you register after January 2023, the links to download the PDF patterns of blocks released to date will also be emailed to you immediately. You can make one block a month or binge sew, whatever's convenient for you. This is a low-stress sew-along, and we'll all work at our own pace. Each month, we'll practice our FPP skills, and at the end of the year, we'll have a beautiful quilt to show for it. I'll be here with you on this adventure to encourage you, but during any month, if you don't have time to finish the block, no worries. I get asked a lot about this quilt and how it's constructed, especially since it looks like there's curves. This pattern is totally foundation paper pieced on a sewing machine. There's no curved piecing or applique. The awesome thing about FPP, other than it being incredibly precise, is that you can sew a few straight lines right next to one another at angles, and then it looks like it's a curve. It's an easy way to achieve these organic curved shells. The blocks are geared towards experienced paper piecers, but if you're an adventurous beginner, you can do this. I break down these detailed blocks into easy to follow steps. Again, we'll gain experience with tiny pieces, piecing at different angles, matching alignments, and more. We've had many beginner paper piecers during previous blocks of the months, and they made beautiful quilts and improved their paper piecing skills. So to help you, I have a free FPP video tutorial and mini class listed below. While general FPP instructions are not included with the Shoreline Shells patterns, I'll be sharing tips, tricks, and best practices along the way that relate to the blocks, and then you can use them for other projects in the future. In addition to the patterns, there'll be other bonuses, including the monthly content on the blog, where I'll be sharing, again, these tips, tricks, and inspiration. This bonus content will be up on my blog indefinitely. So a little bit more about the options in the quilts. Once I decide on a quilt layout, I often ask myself, what if? And I try to push the design a bit further. A design tweak or an additional detail makes a quilt design extra special. And because I love having options, let's take a look at some of the color possibilities, fabric choices, and design variations for the Shoreline Shells quilt. Included in the registration are instructions for 2 different block options in each month's pattern. You decide which option you want to make depending on how you want to arrange your blocks, either in a circle arrangement or a grid arrangement or both. It's like getting 2 patterns for the price of 1. The only added charge is for those who want an extra sea glass motif in the center of their circle Shoreline Shells quilt. An optional pattern sold separately called Shoreline Sea Glass is available. For quilters who like their blocks to be arranged in a more traditional grid or want to make blocks for other projects like runners, placemats, or to incorporate into other projects, there are flexible options included in the patterns. You can arrange your grid option blocks with sashing and with borders in between the blocks. The blocks for the grid arrangement allow for lots of options for customizing fabric selections, both for the shells and for the block backgrounds. You'll also have the option to leave your block corners at 90 degrees or to do a little bit more piecing and add more detail to your blocks by incorporating the optional rounded corners. It's totally up to you. Instructions are also included for an alternate grid option. Using the supplied coloring sheets, you can play with your fabric assignments and positive and negative space. The layout option can be made with a color blocking effect or shells floating on the background. I hope you'll make your own Shoreline Shells quilt. Jump in at any time as we're all working at our own pace. All skill levels are welcome, including adventurous beginners. Get all the details and register at shop.wholecirclestudio.com or look for the link below. Thank you for watching and happy sewing.